Hello everyone and welcome back to the crawler build. So I would like to first of all apologize. I'm aware that the video is a tiny bit late in terms of when it's being posted during the day. I had a bit of an interesting issue. So originally I was recording me doing all the building and stuff in a time lapse, and I was going to do and then I did essentially a wrap up video kind of explaining what all had happened and all that kind of stuff. And it turns out that I was exporting into a file format that none of my video editors could read. So I wasn't able to speed up the time lapse footage. That being said, I have since fixed the issue, and I will be doing a lot more of these builds in time lapse with me doing kind of a voiceover and kind of explaining what's going on, my thought process, all that kind of stuff. So that's going to be some modification to how I'm doing stuff for the crawler. That being said, I will do some builds that are kind of more live, especially certain sections such as coding or really technical wiring and that kind of stuff. But that being said, let's see what I have been doing in the previous time off camera. So this is now the current version of the tread. So this has gone through, oh geez, I don't even know how many revisions I've done with this thing. Just trying to get things all to work. So you'll notice that it's now actually painted for the most part. There's a couple of sections that are still white. That's mostly because those are sections that I'm aware are probably going to change in the near future due to probably how some of the reworking of certain sections will be, such as weight, if I'm going to actually include this last inner tread column, that kind of stuff. So that being said, let's see on the inside what's going on. And I did put on the crawler on both sides. It was a pain and a half, but it's up there now. And as we come inside, you'll notice that there's a massive difference on the inside. Stuff is now colored. The generators look a bit nicer, and there's now like a catwalk that I've got set up here. And this catwalk goes up to here, and we've got over here is our our independent control room. Sorry, that's what it's called. This is for quick disconnect if there's some sort of a technical issue and the tread itself needs to disconnect or what have you. This is where you go to disconnect it. This is just a temporary pilot seat that I was able to independently drive the two sides with. This is a fire extinguisher button that I am still working out the system for. Essentially, what happens is that as soon as you turn on the fire extinguisher, it locks into the on position, and you would need to essentially go and entirely reset the system. So what is going on over here? So the red pipes, the bright red pipes, I should be careful saying that. The bright red pipes are the fire extinguisher system. The light blue, as you can see up here as I'm kind of aiming, that is the air intake system. The kind of I guess it's orange. It's probably a specific shade of orange, but I couldn't tell you what. Is the diesel. And if I come down here, there we go. The dark is our coolant water, and the red is our essentially hot coolant. And all the black is the exhaust. You'll also notice this kind of beigeish color. That's output. I'll explain that in just a small bit because that gets a bit more technical. Also, down in here, I now have what I call the shift shed. This is for if you need some people on standby or what have you, and they're working in shifts. This is where the people that are off shift, which you can tell with the clock, this is where they would be sleeping. If I close that, you'll see that this is where the previous breakers were. They're all now up here. If I go up here, you will very clearly see them. There we go. So these are all of the breakers. Each uh, of the drive motors for each side have an independent breaker. So this is the right side drive motors, and that's right in terms of the independent controls. So it would be off to this side is the right, and that's the left. Then we have the generator electrics. That's specifically for going to the generator engines. Got the independent drive controls. That's just the power for the controls inside of there. This is our door ladder electrics, which haven't really changed a whole lot. Independent generator control, that's right in there. And then this is the left side drive motors. So if we come over to here, you'll notice that we've got a bunch of dials. And these dials are temporary. They will be replaced. Don't worry about it. And we have a key button. And this, by the way, both sides are independently controlled, though they're running off the same electrical circuit. We've got a throttle, and we've got a lockable button, which is the starter, and then this, which was mostly just for testing. And if we go a bit farther, you'll see that we've got a ladder going up to the connection port, going into the rest of the crawler. So startup is really easy. You just be helpful if I remember the fact that I hadn't turned on the electrics yet. So let me turn on generator electrics. I don't remember to... no, I don't need that one. So turn that on. That will turn on all the pumps necessary for the system to operate. And this is the actual starter for the engines. You can see that they are now climbing in RPS, and they reach at about... You'll reach about 12, and then in a couple of moments they'll bump down to about around 5 RPS. So these are now fully generating. They're generating at about around 280 electrical units, whatever they are. I don't entirely know. I don't think it's ever stated in the game. So that's what's currently going on, and that all these generators are now each independently creating 280. So 280, 280, 280, and so on and such. The real trick was figuring out how to do this. So when I first created the whole generator system, I was having a massive problem with them overheating, and also not being able to go over around 20 RPS for some reason, even though I had ensured that they were able to go higher than 20 RPS internally using the properties. And I struggled, and I couldn't for the life of me figure out what was going on. So I looked online, and I checked a couple of people that I know are very reliable for giving useful tutorials, and I couldn't really find anything very useful for the specific situation I was dealing with. That being said, I did find something very useful, which is that generators don't need to have a huge amount of constant torque. They need to have a high constant RPS. But the torque is only necessary in order to ramp up. Don't ask me how that works, because I still don't know entirely. But from that, I was able to determine a couple things. First of all, I put in a gearbox between the engine and the generator. And each of these gearboxes are a 1-to-1 ratio, and then when they're toggled on, they give a 1-to-3 ratio. So 1 revolution per engine, 3 revolutions per the generator. And again, those are all directly connected up. There's no longer a clutch system in there, so all the numeric switch boxes are completely out. And if I open this up in the workshop, the workbench, sorry, not workshop, and I cut this open, we will see some interesting stuff going on here. So if I pull up the logic tab, and you can see all these electrical connections for the pumps, which drive me absolutely nuts, and I need to find a better way of doing it. You'll notice that the new threshold gate, which I don't remember if I had installed previously or not, but the threshold gate is now right here, and that's going into the gear switch. For a time, and this was again, this occurred during the time lapse, I had set it up so that after a certain RPS, the gearbox would switch. And originally it was actually set up to be the clutch. So the clutch would engage after a certain RPS. And again, it wasn't able to get above 20 RPM, or RPS. Different, RPM is a bit different, but it wasn't able to go above 20 RPS. So I tried fiddling around, and I finally noticed something, which was very interesting, was that when the gearbox is at the 1:3 ratio, the engines can only get up to about 50 degrees in temperature. And I don't remember if I've got stuff set to Celsius or Fahrenheit, but whatever unit it's currently at, it was only able to get at about 50 degrees. But that was only at 1:3. The 1:3 ratio. And I played around with it, and I noticed that if the temperature of the engine got higher than that amount, and I switched on to the 1:3 ratio, it would actually start to cool down. So what's going on is that if I select this right here, I now have it so that when the heat of the engine is below 40, it will not have the gearbox switched. So that means that's doing the 1:1 ratio from the engine to the generator. Now, when it reaches 40, and is between 40 and 100, although if it's above 100, we've got problems, obviously. If the temperature reaches within that threshold, it'll now engage that gearbox, meaning it will now switch over to the 1:3 ratio, meaning that it's now generating a lot more electricity, though the RPS will slightly dip, and as I showed, it dips from 12 to about 5. But that being said, it does almost triple the output of the generators. It's technically about doubles it, but that's due to the fact that the engine is slowing down because of the switch-in. But I found that to be the case. So as soon as it reaches that 40 degrees threshold, it will switch over, and it will only be able to reach about 50 degrees. And again, that's assuming that all of the coolant systems are working, because if the coolant systems aren't working, well, obviously it's going to start to overheat no matter what I do. And that's part of, and I don't remember how much I showed of this previously, but the coolant systems are in this back panel right here. And you can actually walk into it, and it's just a bunch of tanks with both a pump and a filter that go directly into some water intake, or some fluid intakes. Sorry. And what's going on is that these pumps are supposed to be constantly running, but the fluid filter only allows for water. Very similar to how I've got the air intake only allowing air in. Even if the entire tread is underwater, it will only be able to take in air, and that kind of situation. So the way that I'm doing is I'm essentially allowing it to constantly run, but it can't pull anything in if it's not water. Which means that these fluid tanks do eventually will fill up when in water, when the fluid intakes are submerged. But if they're not submerged, they're just slowly depleting, assuming that the generator is running. If the generator is not running, then they're just going to stand by and not really do much. So that's how that system's now working. Let me kind of open up that. There we go. You can now see that I've swapped over what used to be a floor hatch into being the magnetic connect. I think it's the large connector, as I think what it's referred to as specifically. It is pretty sure it's the large. Yeah, it's just referred to as a large connector. As you can see, it's got we can send number, a on off, some sort of video, and a composite signal, along with a single fluid and a single power, and of course electricity. But I mean, that's going to occur naturally for something like this. So now what's occurring is that I've only got just this. Whoops, that's not what I meant to do. I've only got this one hatch right here, and then it's going to connect down to here, and I've got the 2 fluids and then the 2 electrics. So that's what's currently going on. And I've also built some kind of sleek looking lines right here, which, they look kind of interesting. Not amazing, but they look kind of interesting when you add them, when you put on the treads. I also changed all of these upper ones right here to being just the wheels, because I wondered if that might help with the bouncing. Didn't really, but I have noticed that it doesn't bounce while in water, so we're going to assume that it's okay for now. If that changes, we might have to eventually get rid of that inner tread, but we're taking the situation as it occurs. So, what's going on from now? What are we changing from here? Well, for the next episode, and again, I'm probably going to be doing a time-lapse video for the next episode now that I've set stuff up more correctly. We are actually going to be setting the tread aside, and we're going to be starting with the actual main body of the crawler. Specifically, we're going to start with the turning unit. Now, the way that the turning units are built is going to be slightly strange in that they're going to be a common unit, but they're each going to be modified for each corner so that they're not having open areas that they're not supposed to be open in. For example, the pathways between, say, if you're at the forward left unit, you obviously want to easily be able to walk into the unit that's to the right of you, but there's no unit to the left of you, so there's no reason for having connections there. And so on and so forth like that. So we're going to be building a common unit and then have it be able to be modified easily to fit the force situations independently. And specifically for the next episode, I'm probably also going to be recording in real time, going to be recording a way of sending engine data between the crawler and the main body. Or sorry, the tread and the main body of the crawler. So that's what I'm planning for next time. I'm sorry that the video is kind of short. I assure you it was going to be a lot longer. I spent at least 4 hours just building this thing. That's all just been kind of lost. So I'm very sorry about that. I know it would have been a lot more interesting than just a recap video like I'm doing. But we roll with what we got, I suppose. So now that that's all set, that's what we're going to be doing next time. So that's going to be in 2 weeks from now. Yeah, because next week is going to be Scrap Mechanic Survival. And then after that, it's going to be the Crawler. So that's actually going to be the current setup for the foreseeable future. That does not include any sort of special videos or anything of that nature. That's just the 2 series that I'm currently running for certain. Anything else gets thrown into the mix, we'll figure out the schedule from there. So, as of this moment, the tread is not done. It is not fully ready yet. I'm aware of this fact, but I spent so much time trying to get this tread ready that honestly, I don't think I'm able to notice this fine minutia of what needs to occur at this point because I've been staring at it for so long. So that's why we're moving on to the next section, and then we're going to come back to this and revise it as needed. So, as always, now that I've talked about, please make sure to leave a like, leave any sort of comments that you've got in regards to what you noticed, or if you noticed anything that I need to fix or that were glaring issues. If you've got any sort of suggestions on how I should work with some of the main body, or if I should try and modify the tread some. And if you enjoy watching this, and you want to get notified when I put up a new video, please make sure to hit that like and subscribe, or that subscribe button and the bell icon. There we go. Because I've noticed that a lot of you have not been subscribing, and it makes me sad because it means you guys don't get notified when I post up a new video. And I'm sure that makes you guys sad as well. So, in order to make sure that doesn't happen, again, hit that subscribe button and the bell icon, which make sure that you get notified for each new video. And as always, this has been the crawler build. I said it correctly this time. This has been the crawler tread. Next time will be the crawler connector. And as always, I'll see you on the next one. I'm tired. Goodbye.